After 8 seasons, over 170 episodes, 4 movies, 9 OVAs, a few manga spin-offs, some even turned into their own anime, and enough merchandise to fill the massive continental dump known as New Jersey several times over, My Hero Academia has ended. So today, I am giving my thoughts on the final season, that being the conclusion of the final war, the epilogue, and hey, maybe even where the series could go from here, because if My Hero doesn't keep going, I'll have to find an ad-friendly way to communicate the idea that I may not want to continue my own life. But as always, welcome to the UA Classroom. My Hero Academia Season 8 is the first season since the first to have a half-season episode count, which I did not realize until the epilogue started. That means that this season is genuine, USDA certified, lean beef, all killer, no filler, baby. This season is only filled with incredible action and conclusions that, while I wish would never happen and this series would go on forever and ever and ever and never leave me, do feel like the perfect note to send these characters out on. I'll be covering the whole season, but our main focuses here are gonna be the 4 big fights of the season, and then how I feel about the epilogue. Starting with
Meet Armored All Might!
By the time that the My Hero manga was in this stage of the final war, I found it almost impossible to avoid spoilers. Because of that, I got a fun little heads up on a few story decisions that I thought would make me want to beat Horikoshi to death with hammers. But he's done it again, folks. Armored All Might vs. All for One feels like the true culmination of Toshinori Yagi and his long-running midlife crisis. Ever since All Might's last fight against All for One and him losing all but the smallest embers of One for All, Toshinori Yagi has been somewhat adrift, feeling guilty over having to leave the world to defend itself against perhaps greater threats than he ever faced. But it is possible to be a hero even without a quirk. The question that started the series has been answered again. And Toshinori doesn't even have to eat hair. While in so much of the final war through Ida and Shoto, Bakugo and Deku, we see how Toshinori has been an incredible teacher and mentor to his students. Here we see what they've given him. I love the incorporation of his students' quirks into Armored All Might's arsenal. Pinky and Shoto are a couple of my favorites in this, but my number one is the hero All for One never sees coming.
Can't stop twinkling!
Christopher Sabat, Vegetalo himself, has always been a fantastic voice actor for All Might, but here we see such a different side of him. He has such genuine glee at being able to throw hands with his greatest enemy and help the world once again. But the new voice actor for de-aged All for One, Ryan Negron, is even more impressive to me.
Just like you did to mine all those years ago! I can't move!
He fits into the show and his role so naturally that it took me until writing this script to even think, oh yeah, this is probably a different guy. I love how mean and spiteful he is. The All for One we've seen up until now has always felt so in control, but now with the gears slipping out of place, he's kinda losing it. I also talked about this a bit in my arc ranking video from a few weeks back, check that out if you haven't, but Stain's return in this arc is incredible. It doesn't just make me enjoy this arc more with Stain coming in to assist his number one hero, but it also gives me an even greater appreciation for the versus hero killer arc he's introduced in. And of course, rest in peace Chizumi Yakaguro, aka Stain, serial killer and glorious hero. While I do really enjoy Stain's return, it's kinda insane how hard he gets bodied, with All for One immediately using forcible quirk activation to activate Bloodlet and antigen swap. But the death of Stain and the near death of All Might after his failed kamikaze attempt begins the greatest fight in the series. It is the end of an era, but it is also the beginning Now, this is no secret to anyone who has heard me talk about My Hero Academia for more than like 10 words, but God, I love Bakugo. His fight against Shigaraki last season is also one of my favorite parts of that season, not just because it is some great action, but because it's the first time Bakugo acknowledges Deku as not just an equal, but someone he needs to catch up to. We also see hints of how truly respectful Bakugo can be of those he sees as mentors. Like with him actually wearing his school tie in his before-death dream conversation with All Might. But I have a whole Bakugo character video in the works, so we have to get back to the rest of Season 8. But, by the way, the video won't continue unless you like and subscribe. Don't even try to test it, just believe me, it won't. Taking a person's hand has become more and more of a motif in My Hero Academia, and really starting this fight with Deku giving Bakugo a boost with Gear Shift is perfect. The first part of this fight, Bakugo saving Toshinori from All For One, is the conclusion of Bakugo's long-running thread of guilt. Having felt responsible for the end of All Might, now he's the hero. Not only saving Toshinori as he and his classmates did for him, but letting the symbol of peace live on. This isn't just about Bakugo saving one person either, no matter who that person happens to be. When the series began, Bakugo stated that he would be even more famous than All Might, the richest hero of all time. Now, the world is watching, from Gran Torino to unmet civilians, and even the kids from Heroes Rising. King Explosion Murder God Dynamite is a hero for the entire world, for Toshinori Yagi, and for himself. The soundtrack, directing, and animation are also incredible. At the Limit is probably my favorite song off of the Season 8 soundtrack, and I especially love the colors here. While when the series began, and for a majority of it, Bakugo's explosions have been a reflection, almost a manifestation, of his inner rage, then at one point became an expression of passion, and now with beautiful colors while he saves All Might, Bakugo's explosions are nothing less than a celebration. The final boss, the episode which takes us from Bakugo waking up all the way to him accepting Deku's pet name for him, is one of my favorite, if not my single favorite episodes in the whole series. After Bakugo saves Toshinori, we get a small break from the action. I love Edgeshot confirming that while he kept Bakugo from dying completely, Bakugo is the one who resurrected himself, his quirk now deep in his veins. In the moment between Bakugo and Toshinori, with him lending the last bit of Hercules as a splint, and my little baby boy smiling without even whooping someone's ass yet, is so beautiful it could cure diseases, end wars, make Megan Thee Stallion my wife. Of course, the not ass-whooping part of it doesn't last long. This is a Bakugo episode after all. One thing I really love about the action in this episode is how insanely fast-paced it is. Bakugo is launching himself around like a missile, and All For One is desperately trying to get back to Shigaraki. While the explosions in this part of the fight don't have the same fantastic colors as his All Might save, they look better than ever. They put this really cool, kinda sketchy look into them, and when he really gets going after figuring out how to time his secondary explosions, they look like fireworks. This fight is also my favorite stuff we ever get of young All For One. I love how while Bakugo is so happy to have mastered his quirk to such an extent that he can launch himself through concrete buildings, All For One is just getting more and more pissed.
The thing that I hate the most is you. That's right. All of this is your fault! Kuda!
And we learn that all you need to do to accept the nickname from your now kind of best friend who you used to viscerally hate is however many concussions you get from blasting yourself through half the buildings in Shizuoka. All For One's hatred of Bakugo also being tied into Kudo, the second wielder of One For All, and to him, the one who took away his darling brother, is really interesting to me. Above those he sees as lesser resisting him, it seems like All For One particularly despises the strong helping those he wants to control or hurt. Kudo with Yoichi, and now Bakugo with Toshinori. It also kinda reminds me of if you have like an extended family member or maybe a former acquaintance who's always posting like 1,000 Instagram stories a week saying stuff like, "Wow, another person betrayed me and hates me. Shocker, it's not my fault though." What I'm saying is that All For One is basically your cousin with undiagnosed BPD. I also find it really impressive how well Horikoshi balances development for Bakugo with still sticking true to his character. After All For One goes big ol' blimp mode during Bakugo's Howitzer Impact, he tells All For One, the man who thinks he's the protagonist of the Age of Quirks, "This isn't your story, it's ours." Giving Deku and the rest of the heroes credit while of course still counting himself, cause come on. This is King Explosion Murder God Dynamite, the final boss and number one hero. Bakugo is the number one hero, and frankly, has been for a bit now. I don't want to hear any arguments. I really like that All For One using Rewind does reach its natural conclusion too, after he gambles everything on Omni-Factor Unleashed and becomes a baby. A very dangerous baby, but...
Stay away!
I am just a little bummed, however, that Bakugo didn't pull an absolute Batman.
Time to go night-night!
Izuku beat his ass. Deku's fight against Shigaraki, especially after All For One dies and transfers some of his quirks into Shigaraki, is the scariest fight in the series. It's crazy to think that this shredded dude with glam rock hair used to be this wimpy little League of Legends player, but hey, here we are. And here Midoriya is. I'm sorry, Midoriya. While All For One desires to be an all-powerful despot over the planet along with getting back his brother, Shigaraki at this point is far more comparable to an apocalyptic event. This fight never really feels like Deku is on the offensive, even when he's trying to give Shigaraki an All For One infected punch, which makes sense as a contrast after Bakugo's fight got to be so fun, but Jesus, this is stressful. We see how hard Deku works to protect the world around him, especially against this embodiment of destruction and ruin. From Shigaraki just wanting to hurt Deku, sink Japan under the sea, and even destroy
Mount Fuji.
This is the single most dangerous villain the world has ever faced. This is also a great time to mention how fucking fantastic Eric Vale is in this season. He's always handled Shigaraki's evolution really well, but this is the most fun Shigaraki has ever sounded. He's so gleeful at the idea of destroying everything, especially with Deku in his way to crush.
What a surprise. I'd never guess you were a hero.
To bring it back to Deku in this moment though, you know, with the Carnage look, hearing that Deku loses One For All was one of those spoilers, like Armored All Might, that I really thought I would dislike, but Horikoshi did it again, folks. I'm adding him to my will. When I thought Deku either had One For All taken from him or like gave it to Shigaraki to be nice, I thought that that would either be too sad or too pathetic for me to stand in this series. But the decision to have Deku essentially use One For All like a mental bullet against Shigaraki's psyche is, to me, the ideal way he could once again become quirkless. I really like how it puts the former wielders of One For All in the fight, as opposed to Deku just using their quirks while they provide, like, team morale, and what this decision and mental battle reveals about our characters. All For One and One For All resonating starts to mix Izuku and Shigaraki's memories into a weird, congealed soup. This episode, Wrench It Open Izuku Midoriya, is definitely the one that they used to save the budget of the season the most, but I still really liked it. I really enjoy Izuku and Shigaraki experiencing each other's memories and getting a greater understanding of each other, but I wish Horikoshi had gone even farther with this. Let their memories interact. I want to see the League of Villains at the 1A Christmas party. When this mental struggle goes all the way to the former Shimura estate inside Tomura, or at this point Tenko's mind, we get a beautiful character conclusion that I did not see coming at all. I'm not talking about Izuku and Tenko, we'll get to that soon. Nana Shimura and her son, who she abandoned to be jacked and cool. I really like Nana Shimura. I think that she's a really interesting character. How she shows one of the major downsides of hero work, with her son describing heroes as someone who hurts their family to protect strangers. And as Shigaraki has become a greater and greater threat to the world, she's clearly felt more and more guilty about her decision to leave her son behind. People love to hate on deadbeat parents, but no one ever asks, hey, maybe the kid sucked. Shimura being the only one rejected from resonating makes a lot of sense and leaves her to give the final mental blow to open Tenko to Izuku, apologizing to her son. Izuku getting an influx of Tenko's feelings of despair, regret, and anger is really cool, but also, Izuku already gets this, guys. He's an empath. The part of this mental struggle that really gets me is Shigaraki getting hit with Izuku's emotions. While Izuku seemingly wipes away all of Tenko and even Tomura's hatred, that is no longer all that drives Shigaraki. He is the leader of the League of Villains. Just like being a hero, being a villain carries responsibilities, at least for Shigaraki. He owes it to the villains who follow him, to the people around the globe rooting for destruction.
'Cause I still have to be a hero to the villains who believe in me.
I really like this decision to make Shigaraki's motivation deeper than his origins, more understandable than just a deep rage. He has people who look up to him, friends who have died for his vision of the world. He won't let them down. Of course, this is where we once again ask the question, why couldn't have Snipe just shot him in the head? With Tenko having given up and Shigaraki's rage gone, All for One has returned to his vessel.
I'm back, baby!
Now, this is the part of the finale I'm most mixed on. I love Bakugo being the one to finally take out All for One, but I see why we needed this for the series. I kinda like All for One having set up Shigaraki's life and downfall so perfectly, even more than we've already seen. My favorite part of it is definitely the reveal that Shigaraki's quirk is a half-functioning version of Overhaul's. But, to be honest, this gets a little Palpatine in the prequels to me. Like, I'm sorry, no one makes a plan this intricate that actually works. Like, they show All for One setting up the friends we see Tenko playing with. How did that conversation go? Did he threaten them? Did he bribe them? But All for One still needing to be defeated in Shigaraki's body with a quirkless, armless Deku standing against him gives the perfect opportunity for every other hero to get in on the action too. I really like Bakugo defeating All for One since he's presented as the strongest, most powerful villain of all time for most of the series, and that's who Bakugo would want to win against. But All for One is also a villain for the entire world, and honestly, this finale wouldn't feel satisfying if this world of heroes we've built up didn't get a chance to beat him. And I would say that I initially didn't like the idea of Deku losing his arms, but when I saw that spoiler, I legitimately thought it was fake. So I guess I just don't like the idea that I feel stupid. This final fight does feel a little fanfiction-y at times, almost corny, but this is a shonen anime finale. This shit was made for the Cobb. I love All for One's insanely spiteful dialogue. So many of our Class 1A members, 1B, UA teachers, Eri, and other pro heroes also have great moments. Aoyama kinda made me cry. I love Sero's speech about hearing that Shoto had taken down Dabi, and Hagakure is one of the most powerful people in the series now. Good for her. And I've talked a lot about the voice actors, especially for the villains, but Justin Briner as Izuku is better than ever, especially in my favorite part of this fight, Midoriya reading All for One for filth.
And you're nothing but a sad, lonely man!
Nana Shimura also having protected the soul of her grandchild from fading away inside All for One isn't just a great way to continue making up for her decision, but leads to some of my favorite Shigaraki dialogue in the series. Shigaraki admits that Izuku was right. He really is just a crying child. But that still doesn't mean he's abandoned his league. And honestly, I didn't really understand Spinner's role in the league besides All for One using him as a symbol for heteromorphs, but now I see it. He's Shigaraki's friend. While Shigaraki cared for every member of his league, none of them were his real friend like Spinner, bonding over video games and nihilism, like a Discord group, but IRL. I think one of my favorite aspects of this finale overall, not even this last fight against All for One specifically, is the decision to firmly cement Shigaraki's dedication to his league, not being out of hatred. He truly cares for them, his friends, who he tried to change the world with. And now it's time for the epilogue. Things have really changed, guys. This is really a 3-layer epilogue, first with this school year that the whole series has been in, wrapping up, finally, then with our class graduating UA as Class 3A, and then the class as full-blown adults who have to, pay rent and shit. Don't grow up, kids. For the first part of the finale, I really like Bakugo crying. I love this kid, but I also love him going through emotional torment, and him having another moment of, oh my god, I was such an asshole, once he knows Deku has lost One for All makes a lot of sense. Uraraka still holding guilt over what happened to Toga is really sad, but also very accurate for her character, and I love how Izuku helps her. My favorite part though might be Izuku's visit with Spinner in prison, him confirming to Spinner that while he cared deeply for the entire league, he and Shigaraki were friends. Also, I love that Spinner is writing a book. Can I read it somewhere, please? We actually might agree on a lot, and I love lizards. The graduation ceremony for our main class is really cute. I also find it funny that literally, besides a couple slight haircuts, Izuku is the only one of them that looks any different from when school started. Well, and Aoyama got purple hair, I guess. This epilogue is pretty much all fan service, but as it should be. When a shonen has been going this long, you need this sweet shit as a reward for your readers and watchers. There's also some cool world building and parallels. The Smoke Kid that almost became Shigaraki too, with an even more fucked up backstory, was really interesting and scary. I also liked the Izuku and Bakugo 2 that we got, and it shows how while Teacher Deku can still fill a mentor role like All Might did to him, he does it in his own nerdy, analytical way. I also love Izuku becoming a teacher. Koda being in his class is really cute and a great conclusion for their small storyline, but my favorite part is seeing what everyone else is up to, and the new designs, of course. One thing I really like about seeing what our main class is doing after graduation is that not all of them are primarily focused on hero work. Even the ones who are heroes spend a lot of time doing stuff that isn't fighting villains or rescuing people. I love that Kirishima made his own Stavros Halkias calendar, Mina Ashido doing dance competitions is really cute, Uraraka and Sue are a great pair to do quirk counseling, Ochako with her history with Toga, and Sue being a heteromorph. Speaking of heteromorphs, I love that Shoji and Koda both get into heteromorph rights and humanitarian work in general. Tokoyami and Shinso being nighttime heroes is sick, and I really want to see a spin-off about Shinso's deep cover operation in organized crime. That sounds awesome. Yamamo mainly focusing on research and education is really neat for her character, and I love that Mineta isn't very popular. It's no surprise that Bakugo and Shoto both are full-time heroes in the most classic sense, and Shoto doing so well on the new hero billboard charts is even less surprising. And it is adorable that Denki and Jiro set up their hero agencies next to each other and perform music together, but do they know it's legal now? Have they heard that we legalized straight marriage? My Hero Academia Season 8, the final season, was a blast to watch every week. I can't believe that this is the same show I wasn't sure I'd like so much when I started it 5 years ago. The action and conclusions this season were great, which was really all I was expecting out of this final season. Besides, like, 12 more episodes, when I thought it was a full season. And if for some reason you're watching this video without being a My Hero fan, check it out. I mean, you might as well. What the hell else are you doing? Watching a video about a show that you don't watch? Come on, man. Well, here we are, and here I am, unsure of what direction I'm gonna go in life now. But thank you so much for joining us as always, y'all. As always, let me know what you thought of this season, and especially the epilogue, down in the comments below. But I've got some more My Hero stuff coming up, maybe even some Vigilantes stuff, we'll see. And other series as well, obviously. But thank you so much for joining me as always, y'all. That is the video this time. You are now free to exit the Shane Zone.